Hi, you are watching New Time on Silkway TV channel. We bring you the most notable news and important events that happened throughout this week in Kazakhstan, Central Asia and around the globe. Stay with us for more details on politics, economy, as well as social and cultural life, with opinions from the most recognized experts from Kazakhstan and around the world. I'm Nurbek Machani, and this is what we'll see today. President of Montenegro is in Astana on an official visit as both countries look to elevate ties beyond traditional diplomacy, from tourism to investment and trade, what brings Astana and Podgorica closer together. A major breakthrough in the Middle East. The US and Iran have signed a memorandum of understanding and agreed to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. President Tokayev has welcomed the deal, calling it as a significant step toward regional and global security. We'll analyze the meaning of this agreement for international stability. $10 billion in investment and one of the region's largest AI infrastructure projects. Kazakhstan, Fiberbird and NVIDIA are joining forces to build a massive computing hub powered by 100,000 advanced GPU chips. Can this initiative turn Kazakhstan into a global AI player? More on this soon. We begin with the biggest diplomatic event in Kazakhstan this week. President of Montenegro has arrived in Astana on an official visit as two countries look to take their relationship to a new level. The visit builds on the momentum generated by the last year's meeting between Presidents Kassym-Jomart Tokayev and Yakov Milatovic on the sidelines of the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. But what does this partnership mean in practice? Why is the Balkan nation becoming increasingly important for Kazakhstan, and why is Astana attracting growing interest from Podgorica? Irgali Ramazanov looks at the opportunities, ambitions and strategic interests bringing the two countries closer together.
This is the first official visit by a Montenegrin president to Kazakhstan, marking a new chapter in bilateral relations. While the talks focused on expanding political and economic cooperation, President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev noted that relations are already being strengthened by growing people-to-people contacts. For many Kazakhs, Montenegro is no longer a distant Balkan nation, but a familiar destination associated with hospitality, tourism and positive experiences.
Montenegro is a very well-known country for our people. There are so many people, citizens of Kazakhstan, who go annually to spend their vacations, and they come back with good and absolutely positive feelings about your country.
Montenegro may be one of Europe's youngest states with only 2 decades of independence, but it has already become a trusted partner for Kazakhstan in the Balkans. For Astana, stronger ties with Montenegro are not only about bilateral trade, they offer a gateway to Southeast Europe and potentially broader access to European markets for Kazakh businesses.
Speaking about economic dimension, Kazakhstan is keen to expanding trade and economic interaction with your country. Given the current modest level of our trade turnover, our priority is to identify practical areas of mutual interest and create direct links between our business communities. We see promising opportunities in transport and logistics, agriculture, digitalization, artificial intelligence, and of course, tourism.
Diplomatic ties are also becoming more visible on the ground. Following the opening of Kazakhstan's Consulate General in Podgorica, President Tokayev proposed establishing a Montenegrin diplomatic mission in Astana. As Podgorica moves closer to European Union membership, the strategic value of this partnership is growing as well.
Given the fact that we are now in the final stage of our EU accession, hopefully becoming the 28th member state of the EU by 2028, by being the part of the EU, that will be another platform of cooperation between Kazakhstan and Montenegro as the future member state of the European Union.
Kazakhstan and Montenegro have signed a number of memorandums and agreements covering tourism, media cooperation and ties between the two countries' chambers of commerce. The visit concluded with the adoption of a joint statement in which both countries pledged to deepen cooperation across a wide range of sectors, from trade and transport to education, AI and digital technologies. 20 years after establishing diplomatic relations, Astana and Podgorica say they are ready to take their partnership to a new level. Yergali Ramazanule, New Time.
Beyond politics and business, ties between Kazakhstan and Montenegro are increasingly being driven by people. Since direct flights were launched in 2021, more than 110,000 passengers have traveled between the two countries. Montenegro welcomed over 8,000 visitors from Kazakhstan last year alone. The introduction of a seasonal visa-free regime have given a further boost to tourism, allowing Kazakh citizens to visit Montenegro for up to 30 days without a visa between May and October. Kazakhstan is accelerating its space ambitions with the new projects focused on satellites, infrastructure and use of space data in government and the economy. The topic was discussed at the meeting of the Security Council chaired by President Tokayev. Key projects include expanding satellite systems and improving national space infrastructure. Officials also highlighted the growing role of space-based data in public services and economic planning. Kazakhstan Tokayev said the global space industry is changing rapidly. He noted that the space is no longer the exclusive domain of major powers. Private companies are now playing a much bigger role. They are developing services such as communications, broadcasting, navigation, Earth observation, research and internet access. The Baikonur-related cooperation project by Terek was described as an important step in strengthening Kazakhstan's engineering and technological capacity. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev has welcomed the agreement reached between the United States and Iran, calling it as a significant step towards strengthening regional and global security. On his X account, he praised the political will demonstrated by both sides, which made it possible to restore trust and find mutually acceptable solutions. President Tokayev also highlighted the leadership of the US President Donald Trump and the constructive approach of the Iranian government. The head of state also congratulated Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif, on the successful diplomatic efforts that helped facilitate the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding. He highly praised Pakistan's constructive role in advancing the talks and credited Sharif's leadership and commitment to peaceful conflict resolution. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev expressed confidence that Islamabad would continue to make a meaningful contribution to regional security and trust building between nations. According to the Kazakhstan's president, this agreement could lay a solid foundation for lasting peace and stability in the Middle East and beyond. The United States and Iran have signed a memorandum of understanding and reached a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The framework takes immediate effect, launching a 60-day process aimed at securing a final agreement on Iran's nuclear program. Under the deal, Tehran has agreed to dilute its stockpile of highly enriched uranium, while Washington is expected to lift sanctions on Iranian oil exports. After more than 3 months of conflict and the disrupted air routes, rattled global trade and fuel tensions in the Gulf, markets are beginning to recover. Oil prices are falling, stock markets are rebounding, and countries across the region are hoping to welcome tourists back. My colleague Almir Amirov is ready to tell more.
3.5 months of tensions, and now the first real sign that the conflict may be finally nearing to an end. On Wednesday evening, US President Donald Trump announced that Washington and Tehran had signed a 14-point memorandum of understanding aimed at ending hostilities. The official signing ceremony had been scheduled to take place in Switzerland on Friday, but both sides agreed to finalize the document 2 days earlier in a remote format.
Bravo!
Iran later confirmed the signing. Iranian media released a footage of President Masoud Pezeshkian holding the signed document. Under the memorandum, the parties agreed on immediate and indefinite ceasefire, not only between the United States and Iran, but also in Lebanon, where Israel has been conducting military operations against Hezbollah. The agreement gives negotiators 60 days with a possible extension to reach a final settlement. The deadline applies to the negotiations themselves, not to the duration of the ceasefire.
I'm very happy to say very signed, the deal's all signed, and the strait is already partially opened. As you know, they're doing a little hunting for a couple of mines that they've already found. But it's essentially ships are starting to go out now. On Friday, it'll be completely opened.
During the 60-day negotiating period, Tehran has committed to ensure the safe and toll-free passage of commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. In return, Washington will immediately grant sanctions waivers for Iranian oil exports and suspend several restrictions for the duration of the talks. According to preliminary agreements, Iran will not pursue nuclear weapons and will begin discussions with the international inspectors on the future of its stockpile of highly enriched uranium. The memorandum further provides for gradual release of frozen Iranian assets, as well as the creation of a reconstruction fund worth at least $300 billion with support from the United States and regional partners. Washington, however, has clarified that it will not contribute financially to the fund and the decisions on it will be agreed on later.
The aim was to reach a memorandum of understanding on these issues and then negotiations to continue for 60 days in order to achieve a final agreement. Under the final agreement, decisions will be made on nuclear-related issues and the lifting of sanctions, and we will reach a comprehensive final settlement.
When the Strait of Hormuz was effectively closed in March, Brent crude prices surged to nearly 60%, peaking at around $120 per barrel. As prospects for a deal emerged, markets quickly reversed course. By Tuesday, Brent had fallen to nearly $79 per barrel. Goldman Sachs has cut its fourth quarter Brent forecast from $90 to $80 per barrel and now expects oil exports from the Persian Gulf to return to pre-war levels by the end of June and months earlier than previously projected.
We need to know that the production and the demand have seriously dropped since the beginning of the crisis, as well as I checked the OPEC bulletin for the previous month. We see that the import volumes also dropped drastically as the biggest consumers of the Middle East oil, China, Japan, they have spent their strategic petroleum reserves. So it will take at least 6 months to establish and to return to the pre-war levels.
Oil, however, is not the only sector affected by the conflict. According to the World Travel and Tourism Council, the crisis has been costing the Middle East's tourism industry roughly $600 million per day. Now, as tensions ease, airlines are gradually restoring routes across the region. For example, Kazakhstan's national carrier has announced plans to resume flights to the United Arab Emirates in phases later this month. Yet one key question remains: is this a lasting peace?
We just need to wait and see what this 60-day period brings when we have more details. And quite frankly, this is such a complicated issue. There's so many angles to deal with. There's so many moving parts to this that I wonder if 60 days are going to be enough. And I think that that's why in the MOU, there is a section that says that, the period of negotiations could be extended.
The memorandum carries 3 signatures alongside Trump and Pezeshkian. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif signed the document as a mediator and guarantor. The agreement may have halted the immediate crisis, but the harder task still lies ahead, turning a fragile truce into a durable settlement. Almir Amirov, New Time.
The US-Iran memorandum and developments surrounding the Strait of Hormuz also featured prominently at the G7 summit in the Evian-les-Bains, hosted by French President Emmanuel Macron earlier this week. Alongside ongoing conflicts and global economic challenges, leaders discussed artificial intelligence, digital safety, and the need for coordinated regulation. In a joint statement, G7 pledged to create a safer online environment for children and support shared principles for responsible digital governance. The summit also brought together top executives from leading AI companies, including Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei and Google DeepMind CEO Demis Hassabis. According to the foreign media, both called for US-led coalition to help shape global AI standards. Macron stressed that the effective oversight of the world's most advanced AI systems would require closer cooperation among democracies rather than isolated national efforts.
Ce sont ces fameux modèles frontières.
The challenge: these are famous artificial intelligence frontier models. We must manage to better regulate them. But to do this, the answer cannot be the non-cooperation between democracies. And so we're in a process of building from the ground up, and that is what we are going to build in the coming months, a kind of platform of discussion and cooperation between some democracies faced with the risk of artificial intelligence.
Kazakhstan is ready to move forward with the practical implementation of the joint investment project with the United States. President Tokayev said during the talks with Ben Black, CEO of the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation. Welcoming the visit as a continuation of the agreements reached in Washington, the head of state said cooperation between our countries had gained new momentum. The two sides discussed opportunities in critical minerals, transport connectivity, agriculture, AI and digitalization, while also considering the opening of a permanent DFC representative office in Kazakhstan. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev reaffirmed our country's commitment to deepening its strategic partnership with the United States and translating bilateral agreements into concrete investment projects. $10 billion in investments, a computing cluster powered by the 100,000 state-of-the-art GPU chips. Kazakhstan and tech giants Firebird and Nvidia have signed a package of agreements aimed at developing the country's AI infrastructure. At the center of the initiative is a data center valley project, expected to become as one of the largest AI infrastructure hubs in the region. According to the government estimates, the project could generate at least $3 billion in annual export revenue while helping position Kazakhstan as a key player in the global AI economy. What could this ambitious project mean for the country, and why is infrastructure becoming one of the most important battlegrounds in the global AI race? Nuray Aslbek reports.
Artificial intelligence is often associated with chatbots and apps, but experts say the technology begins much deeper than that. Behind every model is a complex technological stack. NVIDIA Vice President of Physical AI Simulation RF Liberedian compares it to a 5-layer cake, where each layer supports the next. The first layer is energy, followed by chips and computing infrastructure, cloud platforms and data centers, AI models, and finally, the application people use every day. And while the top players often get the most attention, he says everything depends on the foundation below.
But all of these applications, all of this AI is dependent on having the infrastructure below. Kazakhstan is in a very fortunate place because you need all of those layers, especially that bottom one, energy, in order to do AI. And Kazakhstan is rich with this. And so what we're here to announce is essentially the building of the foundational layers. You have the energy, and now we're going to take it with chips and the infrastructure and turn it into the upper and upper layers. When it is fully built out, it will make Kazakhstan one of the top maybe 5 or so countries in the world in terms of number of GPUs, depending on when it's built. Much more than many other countries that are even larger. So this is, I think, very important, not just in terms of the practical applications, but it also sends a message to the whole world that Kazakhstan is serious about being in this AI race.
The project goes far beyond domestic demand as countries compete for computing power. Infrastructure itself is becoming a strategic asset. With demand for AI capacity growing worldwide, Kazakhstan aims not only to build its own ecosystem, but also to become a supplier of computing power to the global market.
Because it's being adopted so quickly, the main bottleneck of AI development right now is access to infrastructure. Basically, it's not software, it's not models. I mean, everything is in place. But in order for so many people and companies and governments to be able to use AI tools at a top performance scale, there has to be enough infrastructure available. And the data centers that we're planning to build in Kazakhstan with the GPU infrastructure, it will, of course, first of all, serve AI implementation in our country, but they will be also accessible on a global scale and serve as a great export potential for the Kazakhstan as a country.
The numbers behind the project are striking. With investment of $10 billion and plans to gradually expand capacity to 1 gigawatt, the data center valley is expected to become one of the largest digital infrastructure projects in the region. Implementation will take place in stages. The first 125 megawatt data center in Ekibastuz is scheduled to come online by the middle of the next year. The rest of the cluster will be launched between 2029 and 2033, creating a platform for global digital infrastructure. Land for the complex has already been allocated and construction work is underway. Nuraya Slabek, Nurali Kudaibergenov, New Time.
Kazakhstan's AI ambitions are moving beyond strategy and into infrastructure. Backed by a planned 1 gigawatt data center project, the country aims to become a global hub for computing power at the time of surging demand worldwide. Alongside this push, Astana will host its first AI film festival, highlighting efforts to integrate artificial intelligence into cultural and creative life, as well as industry. In an exclusive interview with the Silkway TV channel, 5Word AI CEO Razmik Avagimyan explained how access to cutting-edge computing power could accelerate innovation in the fields ranging from robotics, space technology to life sciences, and why he believes artificial intelligence can empower not only scientists and entrepreneurs but also the country's creative industries.
Kazakhstan, we know that is investing into the projects such as Data Center Valley project.
Right.
So how significant is this shift?
It's actually very significant because the vision for the Data Center Valley is 1 gigawatt. And we're starting with about 25% of it over 2 phases. And that again puts Kazakhstan on the map at a world level. And that's quite a bit of compute, not just for local capacity, but to also invite the best engineers and companies from around the world to Kazakhstan. And I think at the pace that Kazakhstan is moving and we're building, in the first half of 2027, it'll be one of the largest capacities available in the world. There's so much demand for compute now that it's pretty much sold out for the first half of 2027 globally. So Kazakhstan being able to open this level of capacity creates almost like a magnet at a global level to bring companies in here and for all the capacity that's needed in the country and beyond.
Right. So what opportunities it could create for Kazakhstan's long-term economic development?
So areas that we're seeing very rapid development, even at a research level from universities, physical AI, robotics, space technology, which of course Kazakhstan has deep roots in, and life sciences, from cancer research to DNA folding. There's a lot of innovation that can happen. And as well as in areas that Kazakhstan could want to lead and start. It's a great equalizer, if you will, for talent, because if you have access, the AI revolution is getting decentralized in a way, right? Now everyone around the world can have a level playing field where with the best technology and the best innovation, with startups and ecosystem here, you can leapfrog. So I think it's a great opportunity for the country's youth.
Astana will host its first AI film festival. So how do you think, how important are initiatives like this to adopt the AI in cultural innovation?
So having this kind of festivals and having this kind of initiatives, I think is always good because it honestly opens it up to the public. This doesn't become just a government level initiative or a private-public partnership, but this becomes part of everyday life. I mean, if you look 5-10 years back, it was machine learning. 10-20 years back, it was big data. In one way or another, like data and tokens were part of our lives. Now it's accelerated at a much faster pace and it's being used for good. If you look at the film industry, there was always AI, virtual effects. A lot of it was really AI and data science that was behind it. Now there's a very specific name to it. But I also believe that AI should help creative industries also have the gift of time and be more creative, like even outside of using AI, using our mind, using our brains, using our art, using our talent. It should be a great enabler to also push that forward.
One year ago, one of the United Kingdom's leading universities, Cardiff, opened its first overseas branch campus in Astana. This brought rich academic expertise and educational practices to Kazakhstan as part of the country's broader effort to expand access to internationally recognized higher education and strengthen the country's position as a regional academic hub. A year on, The focus is shifting from the launch itself to the wider questions: how international campuses integrate into the local education system, how programs respond to labor market demands, and what skills students will need in an increasingly technology-driven economy. More on this in the next segment.
As Kazakhstan looks to position itself as a regional education hub, attracting international universities has become a key part of that strategy. 1 year after Cardiff University's opened its campus in Astana, the first results are beginning to emerge. More than 300 students joined the inaugural intake, while 4 undergraduate programs have already been launched alongside students-led initiatives and elements of campus self-governance. But the broader question extends beyond student numbers. The next stage of development is expected to focus on programs aligned with Kazakhstan's future workforce needs.
So we're adding 3 more for next year together with a master's program. And we're also now having a wider conversation about other areas in which we might grow into in the future. We're really clear about wanting to support Kazakhstan through the programs that we offer. So those decisions about the programs for the future will be developed very much in relation to where we see the need in Kazakhstan and the ways in which we can support the development of Kazakhstan.
For international universities entering Kazakhstan, the challenge is not simply to replicate existing models, but to adapt them to local realities. That includes understanding students' expectations, labor market trends, and the country's long-term development priorities.
We wanted to listen and respond to what people want, and that's what we're doing this year. Well, look, Kazakhstan is just an incredible country, isn't it? It's just one of the most innovative, fast-moving, most incredible places that I've had the privilege to work, and I've worked in lots of countries. The passion, the rate of change here, the focus on future generations, the focus which is something that's very similar to the focus in Wales.
Artificial intelligence is becoming a defining topic in higher education, with the universities still working out how to feel integrated. But beyond technology, the emphasis remains on human-centered skills, critical thinking, collaboration, and adaptability. For Cardiff University, Kazakhstan, the first year has been about building a foundation. What comes next will depend on how the campus adapts to both local needs and global changes in education. Nuraya Aslbek, Almira Amirov, Akijan Musahan, New Time.
We are closing the program with incredible news from the world of boxing. Gennady Golovkin has made history, becoming the first Kazakh fighter ever inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. He entered this elite club on his first attempt, a rare honor in boxing, placing him alongside some of the sport's greatest names, including Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson. The legacy of Triple G is built on extraordinary numbers. He recorded 345 wins in 350 bouts, a career that made his name synonymous with the greatness in Kazakh boxing. This achievement has also drawn a reaction from the highest level of the state. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev congratulated Gennady Golovkin, calling the moment a historic milestone that reflects the global significance of his sporting legacy and contribution to the strengthening Kazakhstan's international image. And that's it for today. Catch all the main news and special projects about Kazakhstan and Central Asia on Silkway TV channel and follow us on social media. Stay tuned for more and see you next week.